Hello everyone, welcome to Competitive Scholar. As you know, we have started a question series on NEP 2020 and 4 parts have already been uploaded in which 200 questions we have discussed. This is our fifth part in which we will cover the next 50 questions, that is from question number 200 to 250. So if you did not practice the previous questions, please go through our channel playlist and let's start today's session. So the first question is question number 201. A school in a rural area wants to improve female student participation. What measure is shown to be particularly effective according to NEP 2020? A. Free textbook. B. Providing bicycles and organizing walking or cycling groups. C. Reducing school hours. D. Offering online classes. And the correct answer is B. Next, 202. A teacher is working with economically disadvantaged children. What type of school environment yields the greatest benefit for these students? A. Schools with strict discipline. B. Schools offering quality early childhood care and education, that is ECCE. C. Schools with competitive exam coaching. D. Schools with limited extracurricular activities. And the correct answer is B. Next, a district with a high concentration of educationally disadvantaged students is being considered for SEZ status. What is the purpose of declaring it a special education zone under NEP 2020? A. To centralize school administration. B. To promote private education. C. To implement all schemes and policies with maximum effort for SEDGs. D. To reduce the number of schools. And the correct answer is C. 204. A policymaker wants to prioritize girls in educational interventions. Why does NEP 2020 emphasize this? A. Girls are already overrepresented in higher education. B. Girls make up about half of all SEDGs and face amplified exclusion. C. Girls prefer vocational education. D. Girls are less likely to benefit from formal schooling. B is the correct answer. Next, 205. What is the role of the Gender Inclusion Fund introduced by NEP 2020? A. To support infrastructure in private school. B. To fund competitive exam coaching centers. C. To assist female and transgender children in accessing equitable quality education. D. To provide scholarships for male students. This is the correct answer. Which initiative will be strengthened to increase participation of girls from disadvantaged backgrounds up to grade 12? A. Private boarding schools. B. SCRT training centers. C. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas. D. Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti. And the correct answer is C. How does NEP 2020 align with the RPWD Act 2016 regarding inclusive education? A. It recommends separate schools for children with disabilities. B. It endorses inclusive education where students with and without disabilities learn together. C. It focuses only on vocational education for disabled students. D. It excludes children with disabilities from mainstream schooling. This is the answer. A school is planning to support children with severe disabilities. What infrastructure and staffing measures does NEP 2020 recommend? A. Reducing curriculum content for all students. B. Hiring general teachers and building playgrounds. C. Providing only online classes. D. Recruiting special educators with cross disability training and establishing resource centers. This is the answer. Next, what does NEP 2020 emphasize for children with benchmark disabilities under the RPWD Act 2016? A. Mandatory enrollment in special schools. B. Placement in vocational only tracks. C. Exemption from formal education. D. Choice between regular or special schooling. Answer. A child with profound disabilities is unable to attend school. What does NEP 2020 propose for such cases? A. Exclusion from the education system. B. Transfer to residential institution. C. Online only education without support. D. Home based education with equal treatment and regular audits. D is the correct answer. How will NEP 2020 support yearly identification and support for children with specific learning disabilities? A. Assigning them to separate classroom. B. Delaying assessment until secondary school. C. Focusing only on physical disabilities. D. Using flexible curricula and technology to support individual learning needs. This is the answer. What role will the proposed National Assessment Center (PARAC) play in supporting students with learning disabilities? A. Managing teacher recruitment. B. Conducting school inspections. C. Distributing textbook. D. Formulating guidelines and tools for equitable assessment from foundational stage to higher education. This is the answer. What key element must be included in all teacher education programs according to NEP 2020? A. Training in competitive exam preparation. B. Awareness of international school rankings. C. Focus on administrative procedures. D. Training in teaching children with specific disabilities and sensitization to underrepresented groups. D is the correct answer. Next, What support will be provided to alternative schools under NEP 2020? A. Conversion into mainstream school. B. Exemption from national curriculum standard. C. Financial assistance to integrate core subjects and promote higher education access. D. Focus only on vocational education. This is the answer. Next, what strategy is proposed to support talented students from scheduled caste and scheduled tribes? Separate curriculum for tribal students. B. Mandatory relocation to urban schools. C. Exemption from board exams. D. Bridge courses, special hostels and financial assistance. This is the answer. Why does NEP 2020 encourage NCC wings in tribal dominated schools? To reduce dropout rates, to promote military discipline, to replace physical education classes, to harness students' natural talent and help them aspire to careers in defense. This is the answer. What cultural shift does NEP 2020 propose to ensure full inclusion and equity for SADGs? A. Strict discipline policies. B. Segregation of students by background. C. Focus on academic competition. D. Sensitization of all school participants and inclusive curriculum. This is the answer. What unintended consequence has resulted from the widespread establishment of primary schools under Sarva Shiksha Abhijan? A. Reduction in teacher training program. B. Development of numerous very small schools with low student numbers. C. Increase in private school enrollment. D. Overcrowding in urban schools. B. According to DISC 2016-17 data, what percentage of India's public primary schools had fewer than 30 students? A. 14.8%, B. 10%, C. 28%, D. 50%. C is the correct answer. What operational challenge is commonly faced by teachers in small schools? A. Focusing only on extracurricular activities. B. Managing large classrooms. C. Teaching only one subject. D. Teaching multiple grades and subjects, often without proper training. This is the answer. Why is the isolation of small schools considered detrimental to the teaching learning process? A. It limits access to digital tools. B. It increases competition among students. C. It leads to higher dropout rates. D. It prevents teachers and students from benefiting from collaborative environment. This is the answer. What systematic issue complicates the governance of small schools across India? A. Unavailability of textbook. B. Overuse of technology. C. Lack of school uniforms. D. Geographical dispersion and misaligned administrative structures. This is the answer. A state education department is planning to group nearby schools for better resource sharing. What structure does NEP 2020 recommend for this purpose? A. District education zone. B. School complexes or clusters. C. Private school network. D. Urban education hub. This is the answer. What is a key benefit of forming school complexes according to NEP 2020? A. Reducing the number of teachers. B. Centralizing curriculum decisions. C. Enhancing resource efficiency and collaborative learning. D. Limiting extracurricular activities. This is the answer. A principal is drafting a school development plan. What larger plan will this fit into under NEP 2020? A. District budget plan. B. National curriculum framework. C. School complex or cluster development plan. Teacher recruitment plan. This is the answer. What initiative does NEP 2020 propose to foster collaboration between public and private school? A. Competitive ranking system. B. Twinning or pairing of schools to share resources and best practices. C. Merger of private schools into public system. D. Standardized fee structure. This is the answer. Next, what is the purpose of establishing Bal Bhavans as per NEP 2020? A. Provide residential schooling for tribal students. B. Offer weekend and daytime activities in arts, careers, and play. C. Replace regular classroom teaching. D. Train teachers in vocational schools. This is the answer. How does NEP 2020 propose to restore the dignity of schools within communities? A. By limiting public access to school premises. B. By celebrating foundation days and honoring alumni. C. By privatizing school management. D. By removing extracurricular activities. This is the answer. What use is suggested for unutilized school infrastructure under NEP 2020? A. Storage for government supplies. B. Commercial leasing. C. Community engagement through social and volunteer activities. D. Conversion into hostels. This is the answer. What is the primary goal of the school education regulatory system according to NEP 2020? A. To centralize control over schools. B. To restrict innovation in education. C. To improve educational outcomes while empowering schools and teachers. D. To increase administrative oversight of teachers. C is the correct answer. What issue arises from the Department of School Education handling all governance and regulatory functions? A. Improved coordination among schools. B. Increased funding for private schools. C. Better teacher training programs. D. Conflict of interest and excessive centralization. This is the answer. What has the current regulatory regime failed to address effectively? A. Student discipline policies. B. Curriculum development. C. Teacher absenteeism. D. Commercialization and exploitation by for-profit private schools. This is the answer. How has the current regulatory approach affected public-spirited private or philanthropic schools? A. It has provided them with more autonomy. B. It has inadvertently discouraged them. C. It has merged them with public schools. D. It has encouraged their growth. This is the answer. Next. What does NEP 2020 suggest about the goals of public and private schools? A. Private schools should focus on vocational training. B. They should have different educational objectives. C. They should both aim to provide quality education. D. They should compete for rankings. This is the answer. A school leader wants to innovate with new teaching methods but fears regulatory backlash. What does NEP 2020 recommend regarding innovation in schools? A. Schools must strictly follow traditional methods. B. Innovation should be discouraged to maintain uniformity. C. Regulations should empower schools and teachers with trust to innovate. D. Only private schools may innovate. This is the answer. A parent complains about hidden fees in a private school. What regulatory principle does NEP 2020 emphasize to address such issues? A. Confidentiality of school finances. B. Complete transparency and public disclosure of finances and procedures. C. Fee regulation by local authorities only. D. Encouragement of private fundraising. This is the answer. A policymaker is reviewing the structure of school governance. What structural flaw does NEP 2020 highlight in the current system? A. Lack of digital infrastructure. B. Over reliance on foreign curricula. C. All governance functions handled by a single body, leading to conflict of interest. D. Excessive teacher autonomy. This is the answer. A philanthropic organization wants to open a school but feels discouraged by regulatory hurdles. What does NEP 2020 say about this issue? A. Philanthropic schools are exempt from regulation. B. The current regime has inadvertently discouraged public-spirited private schools. C. Only government schools are supported. D. Private schools must operate without oversight. This is the answer. What is the recommended approach to ensure integrity in the school education system according to NEP 2020? A. Strict control over curriculum. B. Centralized decision making. C. Empowerment through trust and transparency. D. Reduction in school autonomy. This is the answer. What role will the Department of School Education play under NEP 2020 reform? A. Operating public schools. B. Regulating private schools. C. Managing teacher recruitment. D. Monitoring and policy making for public education improvement. This is the answer. Which body will be responsible for implementing educational operations and service provision in the public schooling system? A. SCERT. B. Directorate of School Education. C. State School Standard Authority. D. Department of School Education. This is the answer. What is the purpose of the State School Standard Authority under NEP 2020? A. To conduct board examinations. B. To regulate teacher salaries. C. To develop curriculum framework. D. To establish and enforce minimal quality standards for all schools. This is the answer. How will transparency and public accountability be ensured in school regulation? A. Through confidential audits by the SSS. A. B. By limiting public access to school data. C. By publishing annual rankings of schools. D. By public disclosure of regulatory information on school and SSSA websites. This is the correct answer. Which institution will lead academic matters and curriculum development in the state? A. Boards of Assessment or Examination. B. Directorate of School Education. C. State School Standards Authority. D. SCRT in collaboration with NCRT. D is the correct answer. What is the intended culture of accountability in the education system as per NEP 2020? A. Punitive measures for underperformance. B. Simplistic linkage to student marks. C. Objective multi-source performance assessment with integrity and teamwork. D. Annual teacher transfer based on student feedback. This is the correct answer. How will public and private schools, excluding central government aided schools, be assessed under NEP 2020? A. Private schools will have separate benchmark. B. Public school will be exempt from disclosure. C. Both will be assessed on the same criteria with full transparency. D. Only private schools will be audited. This is the correct answer. What kind of information must schools disclose publicly under NEP 2020? A. Only fee structure. B. Only student attendance. C. Classroom count, teacher numbers, subjects taught, fees, and student outcomes. D. Internal staff evaluation. This is the correct answer. What is the role of the proposed National Assessment Center (PARAK)? A. To regulate school infrastructure. B. To conduct sample-based national achievement surveys. C. To manage school finances. D. To recruit teachers for government schools. This is the answer. What flexibility does NEP 2020 propose regarding physical infrastructure mandates? A. Mandates will be standardized nationally. B. Schools must follow uniform architectural designs. C. Mandates will be loosened to suit local needs while ensuring safety. D. Urban schools will be exempt from all infrastructure norms. This is the answer. What is the ultimate goal of the public school system according to NEP 2020? A. To compete with private schools. B. To become the most attractive option for all parents. C. To reduce government spending. D. To focus only on rural education. B is the correct answer. So here we have completed all the 50 questions of today's class. Hope you like the video. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.